Good afternoon, everyone. It's that time again. Today we're going to discuss with you the strategic alliance between British Airways and US Air. And I'm Paul Filipowicz, this is Zach Hunsberger, and this is John Martin.
Like Paul said, my name is Zach Hunsberger, and I'm here with you guys today to discuss the brief histories of both organizations as well as how the alliance was formed. For British Airways, in 1923, the British Parliament asked the Civil Air Transportation Subsidies Committee to form a national airline that would serve the various countries that constituted the British Empire. This gave way to the country's first national airline, Imperial Air Transport, which would not be challenged until 1935, when a merger between three small airlines formed British Airways. To protect the nationalized airline, Parliament proposed that both merge, and in 1939, the British Overseas Airways Corporation was established. Reorganizing several times throughout the 70s, they eventually merged with sister airline British European Airways to form the British Airways Group. And during the 1980s, a movement was afoot to privatize the state-controlled airline. And by 1985, the firm was made a public limited company, British Airways PLC. Moving on to US Air, Allegheny Airlines, originally named All American Airways, was a regional organization serving the Pennsylvania and West Virginia communities. Allegheny Airlines experienced rapid growth during the 50s and 60s due to the involvement of the Civil Aeronautics Board, a government agency, and they benefited from their network of routes. By the 1970s, the company had become a major regional airline based out of Pittsburgh through government protection, and thus incurring an unfavorable public perception. Change was in the air as the U.S. Airline Deregulation Act of 1978 opened the market to new entrants. Actually, in a survey, Allegheny Air was surpassed in quality by a fictional airline, US Air. Thus, the CEO, Edwin Caldney, changed Allegheny's name and set out to improve the company's image. The alliance is announced. In July 1992, amid much speculation, Sir Colin Marshall, chairperson of British Airways, and Seth Schofield, chairperson, president, and CEO of US Air, announced the strategic alliance. The alliance came about during a chance meeting in a New York investment office, where US Air's VP of Marketing and British Airways Director of Corporate Strategies met and had an informal discussion. From there, Schofield and Marshall were introduced, realized the degree to which their views were parallel, and moved forward.
As Paul said earlier, my name is Jonathan Martin, and today I'll be talking about the integration of two companies. The co-mission statement was, build the premier global airline by achieving superior levels of value of money, customer loyalty, and operational and financial performance through drawing on the complementary strengths and shared values of both airlines. To achieve this, both companies had to create synergies based on the core competencies of each company. From this came the integration of a variety of business functions, which included activities like branding, pricing, inventory control, and network planning. Moving on to the coordination principles. Starting off with working together. The two companies wanted to work together to create clear, concise ways of communication to enhance their partnership together. They also wanted to create a win-win environment for their company shareholders to maximize their wealth. Moving on to scoping effort. They wanted to develop and implement best practices throughout both organizations. They also wanted to encourage out-of-the-box thinking to get over problems that they were already having. Moving on to managing the process for identifying corporation opportunities. They wanted to be centrally coordinated. Also, they wanted to dedicate resources where they were needed. Also, they wanted to harness the enthusiasm of the strategic alliance.
Now we're going to move on to the controversy between the two companies. Due to the size and the scope of the collaboration between British Airways and US Air, this venture became one of the most widely publicized and controversial ventures up to this point in US history. The reason behind it is that it involved a foreign firm taking control of an American company, and took control of a major equity position. It had a lot of say in what the company did, where the planes were going to go, and other such things in that. And you can see why that would be an issue for an American company. The big three airlines, American, United, and Delta, went on the offensive. They didn't want British Airways to gain such a large strategic advantage without putting up a fight. So what they did is they appealed to the U.S. government and cited potential national security concerns as the reasons behind this. And at the time, President George W. Bush blocked the alliance until British Airways agreed to scale back the ownership to just under 25%. And moving on to the outcomes, the marriage between British Airways and US Air was short-lived. In late 1996, the relationship between the two firms started to deteriorate, and in March of 1997, British Airways and US Air split up, with British Airways selling its 24.6% stake in US Air. Lawsuits soon followed, going between the two companies, as they both tried to free themselves from this alliance. And soon after, the US government was once again asked to step in and try and help break up this collaboration. Quick question is, have any of you ever flown on British Airways or US Air? We got a couple more questions for you. What do you think of the big three airlines, American, United, and Delta, asking the US government to intervene with the alliance between British Airways and US Air? What are some of the main themes from Chapter 9 that you could pick out of this case? Do you have any questions to ask us?